All right, these last few examples that we're going to do, there's no new property being added. It's the same two properties that we've been doing, the product of powers and the quotient of powers property, except this time some of the variables have coefficients other than 1. So I wanted to make sure I explain what you do in that situation. So looking at this very first example, you can see that it's all multiplication. And we have two different variables. We have, let's see here. We have the variable d, and then we also have the variable m. So, and then we have some coefficients. We have a 5 and a 3 and a 2. And technically, there's also a 1 in front of that d to the third power. So I'll go ahead and just write a 1 there. So when you're multiplying and you have coefficients other than just 1, you can just multiply those coefficients. Multiply all of them together. So 5 times 3 is 15, times 1 is still 15, and then times 2 is 30. So I know that my new coefficient is 30 because I just multiplied all my coefficients. It doesn't matter which variables they're with. Now I'm going to focus on the d's. So looking at the d's, I can see that I have a d to the second power and a d to the third power. Since I'm multiplying and since I have the same base, I'm allowed to add the exponents. And I know that 2 and 3 are the same, or not the same, excuse me. 2 and 3 I can add together and I get d to the fifth power. Lastly, I'm going to look at those m's, and I'm going to look at the exponents of my m's. This first one does not have an exponent, although technically it does. It's a 1. And then the second one's a 4. Again, I'm multiplying so I can add them together. So I get m to the fifth power. So my final answer is 30d to the fifth times m to the fifth. Now let's look at a division example. Again, I'm going to treat those coefficients like they're not with variables, and I'm just going to multiply and divide them. So starting off with those coefficients, I've got a 15 and a 2 that I'm multiplying, and I know that 15 times 2 is 30. And then I have a 5 in the denominator, and I know that 30 divided by 5 is 6. So the final coefficient in my answer is going to be a 6. Now I'm going to take a look at the m's. I've got an m to the third and an m to the fourth in the numerator, and they're being multiplied, so I can add those together. M to the third times n to the fourth would be m to the seventh power, and then in the denominator I have m to the second. Since I'm dividing and since I have the same base, I can subtract 7 minus 2 and I get m to the fifth power. So my final answer is 6m to the fifth power.